Hello, Divine Light Activators, and welcome to Season 2 of Own Your Divine Light Show. My name is Janet Miller, and I am so excited to welcome back Elisa Medhus, a physician and mother of five. She practiced internal medicine in Houston, Texas for over 30 years. In 2009, after the death of her 20-year-old son, Erik, she journaled her grief on her blog and channeled Erik. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to stop a sec. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I don't know what happened here, but my writing is all goofed up. So hold on one sec. Here we go. All right. So hello, Divine Light Activators, and welcome to Season 2 of Own Your Divine Light Show. My name is Janet Miller, and I am so excited to welcome back Elisa Medhus, a physician and mother of five, and she practiced internal medicine in Houston, Texas for over 30 years. In 2009, after the death of her 20-year-old son, Erik, Dr. Medhus began journaling her grief on her blog, Channeling Erik. Because of her science background, she viewed spiritual matters such as the soul survival of death with skepticism. But once Erik began to communicate with family, friends, and blog members, her entire paradigm shifted. Today, she works with a spirit translator that channels Erik, and he shares his insights from the other side about death, the afterlife, and so much more. Dr. Medhus is the author of 3 award-winning books, My Son and the Afterlife, Conversations from the Other Side. Erik has authored his own book, My Life After Death, a memoir from heaven. In addition to her 2 books about Erik, Dr. Medhus is also the author of 3 award-winning parenting books, Raising Children Who Think for Themselves, Hearing is Believing, How Words Can Make or Break Our Kids, and Raising Everyday Heroes. Thank you so much for being here again, Elisa. And we're also welcoming in a fantastic channel, Jennifer Doran. And Jennifer lives in Orlando, Florida, and she's going to tell us more about how she got into what she does. And so happy to have you back, Elisa. And I know the audience really enjoyed you and your conversation and Erik's conversation so much. And, it feels longer than like 6 months ago that we spoke. And
Yeah.
so much has happened. And I know
Oh,
energetically, what were you
yeah.
going to say? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. A lot has happened. That's for
I
sure.
know, to you, to all of us. And
Yeah.
those astrological happenings in June were huge, and we've been pushed to really dig deep and release whatever has been feeling that we keep stuck or what we're not pursuing our true passions. And I know that you've had some big things happening. So what's going on with you, and how has all that affected you, Elisa?
Well, I have been traveling so much. We've been to my husband's little hometown in Norway twice.
Mm-hmm.
Once because it was when my daughter and her husband and his parents could come, and the other because we had to mow the roof on the cabin. Believe it or not, it has a sod roof. I said, just stick a goat on there. God, why save the travel expenses? But no, he also had a school reunion. But the first Norway trip, I almost died. It was just such
Ooh.
real. I went on a little walk, like it was supposed to be just like 50 to 100 feet away from the cabin, but then boom, socked in by such dense fog, and I got lost trying to get back. And they say, whoever they is, they're very smart because it's always they say. Anyway, they say that people who are lost in the fog almost always turn left, and left was the wrong direction. So I kept walking and walking. So, oh my God, I'm in a pickle here. And then I watched and watched and watched and watched, and I said, God, I might die. And finally, I couldn't walk anymore. I was so hypothermic because I had little DSW boots on, skinny jean pants, and a light jacket, and it was 28 degrees.
Ooh.
It was raining, cold rain, and big winds. And it was right on top of where the tundra is, just moss,
Mm.
and no shelter, no trees, nothing. So anyway, I collapsed on some white moss. I thought, well, maybe a helicopter could find me in white moss. And so I was stuck there for 17 hours. Um, most of which, I did scream for help. Nobody heard me. Then after 10 hours, I gave up. I just gave up. I was begging to have my soul ripped out of my body because it was just the suffering the coldness was so awful, and I started hallucinating, etc. A moose came up behind my curled up little body. Uh, I could feel him, I could smell him, I could hear him munching, and I wanted so much to look at him because I just love moose. They're so rare. Their sightings are so rare and such a gift. But then I thought, well, I got a new knife in the town because it was cool, has a denim in epoxy handle. I wish I had it because I'd cut open his belly and crawl inside. I'm so freaking cold.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was thinking all sorts of weird thoughts. Like, I can't believe my 96-year-old father-in-law is going to outlive me. And, oh my God, they're going to find my body and I'm wearing Walmart panties, things like that. The things you think. But anyway, at the very last minute, I said, I don't know why, but I'm being nudged to scream one more time. And then all of a sudden I hear, hello, and there's the Red Cross. It was so, oh my God. I just was convinced I was going to die. And so apparently they got in this giant Sea King helicopter from Grumman to use the infrared camera. They were probably too cold to light up on that, but they couldn't do it because of the fog, ironically.
Wow.
And then they brought in dogs. They couldn't find me. So they did like 3 groups of 30 Red Cross volunteers, did a grid search. They couldn't find me. They were doing the circumferential search when they heard me. And I was 1 meter outside of their 800-meter search parameters they had set. So anyway, and my core temperature of my body was 86 degrees. I mean, the doctor of the hospital said you had maybe 1 hour, most 2 hours to live. So that was it. I cannot still believe that I am here talking to you guys. And Jennifer is just so awesome. And Erik loves her. I love her. She is such a clear channel, and it'd be awesome if, Jennifer, you could share some more about yourself.
Okay, so yes, I'm a psychic medium. I'm natural born. I've just kind of always had this gift. I was a massage therapist from the age of 18. And that's really when I started to realize from working on people that, hey, like I'm getting stuff that everybody else isn't, like something's kind of going on here. And it was really actually not until I was in my late 20s, I believe, that one of my clients looked at me and said, you're a medium. That's why you know all that stuff. I was like, oh, that does make sense. That makes sense. I just, just
It was natural to you.
Business. And yeah. And so then I have been doing psychic medium readings full-time for five years now, I guess. I stopped doing massage therapy. My hands started hurting. So
I bet.
Yeah, I had to stop.
Not an easy job. It's a very unique job. It's a good one because it seems like people that are healers or psychics tend to do massage and then they go on to the next level because I have a friend who also does massage, but she loves it and she gets so much from it, and her psychic skills and her healing skills have magnified because people just love her and her hands. Yes. They're like, oh my goodness, I get so much from your work that, it's so much more powerful than just anybody doing a massage,
Yeah, so it's very common. It's a very common transition.
Very much, very much. Well, thanks for being here, Jennifer. So excited. And welcome, Erik. Erik, thanks for being here too.
Hi, sweetie. I love you.
Hello, I love you too. He's so happy to be here.
It's really a thrill to have you back, Erik. And what did you think of your mother's adventure, Erik? What did you think the reason was she had to have that?
Okay, so what he's saying is Elisa, when you said you didn't know why, but something told you to call out, he said, I know why.
It was him, huh?
Yeah. He was poking you, nudging you to do so. He sat with you the whole time. He said, I knew she wasn't going to die. I knew she wasn't going to die there. But it is an experience that, what he says is that your soul needed to have it because of the work that you do. And it just helps to relate to the desperation, because he said it doesn't even have to be a near-death experience like this. You understand how people now with major depression can feel like they don't want to be here anymore. He says it was to give you so much more of an understanding of life and death.
I can definitely see that. But next
Yeah.
time, just give me the memo, okay? Just give me the
Yeah,
cliff
the
notes.
cliff notes. Yeah, that's what
Oh,
he said, the cliff notes. That's
Yeah, it
funny.
never seems to work that way though. We
No.
don't do well with cliff notes. It's kind of cheating. Yeah, we have to
I know.
we got to get the full on impact to get the truth out of it. Otherwise, you would have never felt what you felt
That's
ever.
true.
Yeah, I know, because we've all been through our stuff, and that was a big one. But I'm
Yeah.
happy you're safe and back and whole again.
Me too.
I know.
Thank you.
Wow. So, I know it's been 12 years since Erik has left the planet in physical. And how are you feeling about all that now? And what is your relationship with Erik now? For those who may not know, about you yet. I
Yeah,
mean,
let's see, it's really actually been 10 years.
is it 10?
And
Oh, sorry, I thought
yeah,
it was
10 years.
12.
No,
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I,
it's 2009. Excuse me.
yeah.
Exactly
And
10.
his death day is coming up on the 6th. It's always a little hard.
Mm,
12:41 is when he pulled the trigger. And I know that in all my YouTubes, people see me as jovial, self-deprecating, etc. But very few people know that there's still a lot of pain.
sure,
You
sure.
lose your kid. It's the worst thing that can happen to a human being. So
Yeah. Oh, outliving your kid is always a tough one. I know.
yep, yep.
And I have to say, I have a sad thing to report. A friend of mine's son just, yeah,
Oh,
I'm really sad to say.
oh, I'm so sorry.
And yes,
Eric, show him the ropes.
and I was going to ask,
Absolutely.
please,
Absolutely.
I don't know his full name. I'll have to tell you later if I can get it, and I'll send it to you. But he's a good friend of mine's, her son, and I didn't know him at all, but he
Yeah,
grew up in the Boston area,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
just happened like 2 days ago.
Oh
Oh,
goodness.
I know.
very new.
Thinking of Erik and going, wow, what coincidence that Erik is here, and to look for this young man and help him through all the
I
trends.
said, Eric just kind of gave me like a cheeky smile and was like, it's not a coincidence.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Erik. We love that you're here. I know you got his back, and thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for being there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I know that. How do you feel? I mean, you talked about the human experience, and look at what you just went through, Elisa, that experience on the fog. And you've also gone through some other things with like your blog people, and you've had a heck of a summer with the energies pushing people to move deeply into what they need to do. So, what do you feel the human experience is for? What is it for?
Well, I'm going to just steal the information from Eric because he taught me
Mhm.
long ago that the human experience is so that you can have the contrast you need to understand a polar opposite of a facet of love. For example, to learn about the facet of love, forgiveness, we come here and we either betray somebody or we are betrayed.
Mhm.
So, in the end, it's to remind us that two things, that we are love and also how to love. And that's pretty much it. He uses a brownie analogy. I don't know if I probably shared this last time, but
You might have, yeah.
yeah. But
This is
anyway, he
only for
says,
listeners. It's okay.
yeah. So he says that, I mean, you could look in a recipe book and see a picture of a brownie and look at the recipe, but you really have to get in the kitchen, mix up the ingredients, maybe get some in your hair like I probably would. Put it in a pan, stick it in the oven, cook it, take it out, cool it down, ice it, and take the bite. And that's when you really know what a brownie is. And,
Mhm.
it's like you can't understand the concept of hot unless you experience cold or vice versa.
Yeah, it's like what
Eric,
you
what do
can
you
do in
think?
the
I don't
fog.
know. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say, Erik, what we'd love to hear from your side. You've been there a while now, so what do you get with the wisdom you're gaining being on the other side for the lot?
So what he was saying about that is with love, like, on the other side, we don't have the contrast.
Mm.
And so it's like in order to appreciate and to truly feel love, you have to have the negative. It makes you appreciate it more. You have to have the fear and the anger and the anxiety and all this stuff to make you appreciate the love more. He says, believe it or not, he says we get restless over here, so to speak, where we're like, okay, like I'm ready to kind of do this again and go back in. But he says, unfortunately, from over here, we remember that, hey, we're going to be back over here and we know what it's like. But when we come there, we don't. And we can't for the experience. But that's why it's so hard to be here.
Yeah, that's true. And I can see that my experience of the polarity that occurred in Norway to better understand. I mean, I've always felt empathy and compassion for people, but now I truly understand on such a deep soul level what it's like to feel desperation,
Yes.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yes. He says to no longer want to live. Because, you know,
Yeah.
our human instinct is, he says, usually to want to survive. But to
Right.
get to the point of such desperation that you feel death is better,
Yeah,
he said that's, you know, very few people actually get to survive that experience,
that's true.
you know. Um,
That's true.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know what you'd call that. It wasn't quite, it was near death, but yet you didn't go down the tunnel of light and all that, but you were almost there. You were like right on the precipice. You were like,
I had one foot on a banana peel, another in the grave. I'm telling you.
wow. And I love that the moose was there for you. That was pretty
Yeah, that's
interesting.
cool.
He's like your spirit animal now, I think, because
Maybe.
he was giving you a little warmth, you know, his body even being near you gives you a little warmth, I was thinking,
Probably, yeah.
even though you didn't realize it, but I know they're skittish, so you don't want to be messing around with them too much, but yet he came to you for a reason, you know, there's
Yeah, and
always,
Erik
is
said he was riding in on the moose's
that
back.
right?
It said it was a young buck, and that explains why it was a solitary animal. You know,
Ah,
they are more solitary. It wasn't
oh,
a
just
female
said,
with a calf.
he just said to me, well, I know she likes them, so I brought her one.
Oh, that's so sweet.
oh,
I
that
It
wasn't
was
was,
like,
scared.
well,
I was
what it
never
was,
scared. I was
it
never
was,
scared during the
he,
entire experience.
what he just said is that like there gave you some hope there, because, you know, it was like gave you something else to think about, like, oh, there's
Oh,
like, I,
that's
you know,
true.
kind of a little
That's true.
distraction for you.
Yep, that's true.
that is so true. That's a well, Erik, that's beautiful. He's still helping you so much on the other side constantly. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah,
What a gift in so many ways, you know? So,
definitely.
yeah, and so when you talk about the importance of vulnerability and emotional honesty with all you've been through in these last few months, what did you get from all that? You've gotten a lot of experience with that right now.
Oh, all my life. Are you kidding me? Well, you know, Erik's taught me a lot on that front too. You know, what happened this summer is I had so many haters
Mm.
um, because I was trying to protect somebody from a medium who was researching everything beforehand, you know, like
Ah,
obituary.com. And, you know, they felt sorry for her because, so I won't give too many details. And so they were just horrible back to me, like, let's boycott Elisa. Like, they don't remember how this all started and you know, how permanently broken I am. And so, but I learned that vulnerability is seen as a weakness, and it is not. It's the only way to get to be your authentic self, to be vulnerable with yourself, emotionally honest with yourself and with others. That is the way to be what we all need to be, and that's our authentic self. And only when we're our authentic self can we truly love and can we truly feel and live as part of the oneness that we are.
yeah, well, that's what I did this show for, so people can understand, you know, how to learn to love themselves more, how to be who you truly are, and not be afraid to show yourself. No, not everyone's going to like us, no matter what we ever do. We can't people please the world. It just is never going to happen. We just have to be who we are and accept that and when you're not liked, sometimes you're doing something really right. And that's what I'm
Well,
learning.
that's true. And I know you two have probably have experienced this too because of the subject we deal in. But somebody told me a quote from somebody, I can't remember, that when the light shines brighter, the darkness reacts violently. And I
Mhm.
think that's what we're seeing. All of us are seeing there. I mean, look at
Yeah.
when people used to think the Earth was flat, right? And then I think it was Galileo, I can't remember, said that it was round. And oh my God, the world was in an uproar because of that. I think he might have been thrown in prison for that. I can't remember, um, but guess what? The Earth is round. Maybe they're flat, But
People are still trying to think the world is flat. Do you love that? I mean, they still
Yes.
try to bring that back, and I'm like,
yeah, and hollow. Some people think that it's
well,
hollow.
it's not hollow, but it does have a lot of caves in it. I've heard. There's a lot
Oh,
of
oh
inner Earth.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the
I
inner
bet.
Earth is a whole other world in itself. There's a whole inner world. You know that. There's an inner Earth. I'm sure Eric knows a little bit about that. Eric,
Oh,
do you
let's
know?
hear it because I didn't know this.
Oh yeah, Eric, do you know there's an inner Earth? There's an inner Earth world. There's other beings living in the inner Earth.
Uh, yeah, yes, he is familiar with this. I will say he's got to jump in because he was talking to me
Oh
when you
sure,
so I want to go back to something you were saying about being your authentic self.
good.
And what he was saying is that our lessons are so hard down here. It's very hard to be human and go through our lessons. But he says you have to go through them. It's why you're there. So if you're somebody who is trying to be authentic and kind of stay on your path and learn your lessons, yeah, you're oftentimes are going to get pushback from other people and people being kind of whatever nasty and stuff to you. But he said that's them not learning their lessons.
Mm.
Ah,
So he says you just keep marching forward with what it is that you need for your soul, and you don't worry about if somebody else is not learning their lessons. That's not your responsibility. But that's what he said. That's often what that is. Like when you're trying to be authentic and you hurt people's feelings, it's that there's a lesson for them to be learning there, and they're not ready to hear it.
that so makes sense. And
Yep.
so my thing now is I just try to feel compassion for them, and because they are, it's hard to carry all that hate around 24/7. Instead of living in love, so I feel sad for them, and I just in my mind send them love and light.
Yes.
So and that seems to work very well.
It
Yep.
does. It does.
Sometimes who told me this? Maybe one of my parents. No, no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Sometimes the people who are the hardest to love are the ones that need it the most. Actually, most often that's the case, huh?
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm. And sometimes the people that treat you the worst here are the ones that love you the most on the other side. I've heard that too.
Oh, like a relationship villain that
Uh-huh.
they sign up to. Hey, look, I'm going to be an asshole to you, so because
Mhm.
I want you to help you with this lesson.
Yeah, I remember being in Egypt and being in front of the temple of Edfu, and my girlfriend, there was a group of us 8, and we were doing this really deep meditation. And she said, think of the people that are here that you have a hard time with, but yet see them in a new light. And all of a sudden, my parents showed up and they were smiling and they were happy. And I'm like, whoa, they never looked like that on the earth.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Or
I was,
sometimes it helps to imagine your villain, so to
yeah,
speak,
yeah.
as either a very old person, feeble, or a little baby. But anybody who has these problems with others, if they look online for Neil Donald Walsh's children's book called The Little Soul and the Sun,
Ah,
Soul, because it really describes all of this so well, and it dumbs it down for people like me.
mm-hmm.
That's a very short read. Also, that really helped me with the my abused my child abuse. My parents were extremely physically and emotionally abusive, so badly that 3 of us escaped to become homeless. Anyway, broken skulls, little things like that.
Wow.
But they signed up for it.
Mm,
Now, my father, in his case, he was overachiever, so he went a little bit too far. But it was and I really stopped being a victim about it by just thinking, well, okay, so there's some value in this. What is it?
mm,
And I decided that it taught me how to be assertive, compassionate, and nurturing. And I probably am a better mother because of that. So, once I discovered that, I expressed gratitude, in my mind, for that whole experience. And that is when I was able to let it go. And I don't even consider myself a survivor. I just consider myself a thriver.
mm,
Survivor
mm.
implies that what happened to you is bad, but Eric, you say there's no good or bad. They're just all
Well,
experiences, and this was a good experience for
he's
me.
giving me something really quite interesting right now. And back to what you were saying, like if you have somebody that you're angry with, if you can look at them as like very tiny baby or an old soul, and we've actually he's brought this up before. But if you can look at your anger and change it to compassion or something, if you can change an emotion that you feel very strongly towards somebody, especially if it's a negative one for you to experience, towards something more positive like that. And then he's saying, what he was saying is that emotions, especially any emotion in the extreme, are also very closely connected. And then what he showed me is like when a young child is laughing very hard and then like that they start crying. And he's saying that these extreme emotions are actually a lot closer connected. So it's, if you can kind of train your brain to think a different way, you can quite easily switch anger to compassion.
Yeah. And you could probably think of some memories associated with that person that was nice, like the few times that my dad or my mother hugged us or something like that.
Yes.
And kind of try to connect to that memory so that you can make that flow from anger to love and
Yeah.
compassion.
Yeah, no, those are great words. I understand because when I moved out of my house at 19 too, so I understand what it's like that you have to leave. And yeah, it took me a long time to get to the understanding and the once I got into actually once I got sober 26 years ago is when I could look at my family and go, hey, okay, there were lessons I had to learn and there were things I needed to get past and then appreciate what I had learned, like you're saying, appreciate the lessons I got. And now I am grateful for the things that they
Yeah.
brought to me.
They were a gift. You know, a
Wouldn't
lot
be
of people out
willing,
there who have been abused
which just,
or even being abused
yeah,
now.
yeah. They don't always
Yeah.
want to see that, but everything that happens to you in an extreme like that, it seems to be once you can turn it into the gift, the learning, we get so much more out of it and our life just shifts completely and our path just falls into alignment and it just seems like life is flowing. I don't know, it just seems better. I know my life has been better. Yours is better, even though you're still, you know, you have the grief, but you're better. You're still
Oh,
doing
yeah,
wonderful things
definitely.
and you can smile again and life
Yeah.
really can. And
Yeah.
that's
Find joy again. Yeah. So,
there's
but Eric, you talk about the four roommates. There's the physical body, the spiritual body, emotional body, and
mental.
mental body,
Yeah.
and that how these roommates are often out of line,
Yeah.
out of alignment for so many people. Um,
Yes.
you bring them into alignment and you're so much better off, and especially physically, because when you
Mhm.
get that lined up, then your body is not going to try to tell you things, give you
Mhm.
messages through disease.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, he said, yeah, sometimes one of those roommates in a totally separate room with the door shut and in a
Yeah.
soundproof room, nobody's paying attention to him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, gotta focus, and balance all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you do that best?
Through self-awareness. That's
Yeah.
the biggest one, through self-awareness. Um,
And that's all about mindfulness, being present, like
yes.
breaking down whatever walls are preventing you from being honest with yourself, because you know how
Yep.
many me too, make excuses and rationalizations and things like that. But to break all those down and be vulnerable and say, I'm just gonna take in all the crap.
Yep.
Just lay it out in the open.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what's your most suggestion, Eric? Like, what's the best approach? Like you say, lay it out in the open. So, do you have any specific?
Well, what he's saying is it's not a one size fits all.
Right, right.
Sometimes people are very good at kind of isolating themselves and
Mhm.
working through their stuff on their own and kind of putting things into perspective. Sometimes people need to be out talking with people or therapists or friends. So he says there's not a one size fits all. Meditation, mindfulness, meditation just helps us with mindfulness.
Yeah.
That he says across the board is good for everybody, although it's very difficult for a lot of people to do that. So
Mhm.
active meditation, guided meditation, um, the breathing, making sure that you're breathing. He said so many people live in like a fight or flight state because their breathing is so shallow.
Wow.
So to pay attention to your breath and nurturing your body, making sure if you do have deficiencies that you're taking care of them, because in that regard he says if you're deficient in something, well, then that kind of snowballs. If your vitamin B is low, or your D is low, or your magnesium, that kind of spirals out, and that's an immediate issue that you need to take care of. So if it's coming from the physical self, you've got to get your health in check.
Yeah, and eat non-processed foods, et cetera, et
Yes.
cetera. Yeah, I
Yes.
know that he said before that when you really pay attention to your breathing, then that's when you're truly present, truly in the now. And that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we started just when we started this to get ready, we totally slowed down and we took some breaths, and literally we come right back into our body when we do that.
Yes.
And you feel more connected, you feel more alive. I mean, I felt it immediately. I felt the shift for me. I don't know if you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Yep,
Yeah.
I did too.
that's a great and that's a good message. It's a simple one too, because breathing is true. I found myself not breathing, and yeah, I'm like, that's perfect. Thank you, Eric. So you talk about as emotional beings full of emotional energy. What does that mean to you, and how big a part does this play? Like, how big a part does emotions play? I mean, we kind of know it's a pretty big part. So how would you that either one, Eric or
Okay, so Eric's like, are you asking me?
yeah, Eric,
Yeah.
you go.
So yeah, it plays a huge part, he says, because your emotions are what tricks you into thinking things are worse than they are, or not what they seem. That's that kind of emotional state can get you to a place where you just can't see what the next step you need to take is. It can be debilitating. So it's absolutely a huge part of the overall well-being.
Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah.
someone I've been training with says, you are not your emotions. So what he just said makes a lot of sense, because she said that statement. I'm like, okay, so what does she really mean? You are not your emotion. So can you go more on that, either
Yeah.
one? Or
Yeah,
Eric?
wait, Eric, you've said that we are emotional beings. What does that really mean? I was thinking it meant that we are made of emotional energy, but everything is energy, obviously,
Well,
including emotion.
yeah, so what he's saying is the emotions and the extreme of emotions is a very human experience.
Yes.
So that is part of who we are. We are not our emotions, but what he says is if we just let them run amok,
Mm-hmm.
our emotions can control our life. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the us being emotional beings, that's part of what we're here to do. We're here to experience those extremes.
Do you have are you emotional being still when you cross over?
Yeah, yes, there still is emotions over there, but not the extremes that we have here, not the negative, the fear, the panic,
Oh,
the
yeah. Right.
anxiety, the grief. We not so yes, there still is emotion attached to the soul, is what he says, but not. He says it's like down there. He says for some of you, it's like a free for all with emotions.
Oh, God. I
Yes.
know.
So what would an emotion be on the other side, Eric? Give us an idea. Like, I want an example. Like, what kind of an
Ooh,
emotion do
good
you feel?
question. Yeah, that's
Love,
a great question.
love, gratitude, compassion. Those all exist over there. Happiness. Those all exist over there.
Over there, or where you are? Over here.
Well, on the other side.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That's my talking.
Yeah.
Um,
Gotcha.
so where Eric is on the other side, when we cross over, whatever you call it, yes, there is still emotions over there. There's still feelings.
Yeah, I remember asking him, can you feel like any negative emotions like frustration or anger? And he said, yeah, you can conjure that up, but you can't. It's like
You
grabbing
can't
onto
stay in it.
greased monkey bars. It just can't stick.
Yeah.
I love that. Grease monkey bars. That's
Yep,
good. They
yep, you
don't
can't
stick.
stay in it. Yeah, you can. Yeah, he says you can conjure it up, but it still isn't even like to the extent that we would experience it here. And yeah, you can't remain in it.
Yeah, and
So
he talks a lot about that in his book, My Life After Death, which is, to me, I'm not bragging because I didn't write it, but it is so amazing. He describes everything about what it's like to be a spirit, for example, the emotions, how they change, the senses, the ability to manifest things instantly. He talks about the afterlife, even describes the bark on the trees there, what God is like. I
really?
mean, just all sorts of amazing stuff. But another thing that I found of value that Erik has taught me is that feel first, think second. I mean, since we are emotional beings, we need to feel, uh, you know, sense of feeling, and then let that evoke a thought and let that thought create your decision. But mostly we think a thought and we let that stimulate evoke some sort of emotion, and that emotion creates the choice, which is not, did I get it right, Eric? It's been a long time since we talked about that.
What he's saying is that when you feel first, that would be what people would call their gut instinct or their intuition.
Okay.
Yes.
Because that's guidance from the other side. That is your guides, your loved ones.
Your higher self, maybe? Could it be your higher self?
Yes, giving you an indication of kind of what to do in this situation. So that's always what you would want to trust first. But he says most humans don't. And you know, he says for humans and for a lot of people, that feeling, that gut instinct is so quickly followed by thought that people don't know what was what.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so they question themselves. It's just our human nature to kind of do that. So, plus he says, quite frankly, for people who maybe have some emotional struggles, they're not getting that feeling that they get is not coming from the other side. That instinct, that gut, that intuition is not always coming from the other side, but from the confusion of how their life is going. But he says this is more with people who are struggling maybe with, you know, some mental health stuff.
Yeah, can I share a little anecdote, a personal anecdote where I really learned that that connection, gut feeling, then thought, and then I was a resident in Galveston, and I'd been on call for, oh God, just 3 days in a row or something. And so I just needed to rest. I went to the beach with a book and a blanket, and it was like Monday or Tuesday, so there's nobody on the beach. And all of a sudden I got this feeling of dread. What is that coming from, you know? So I really paid attention to it. Then I looked over and there's some creepy dude coming down the seawall steps toward me. And, you know, I wasn't afraid. I just thought, this guy is going to kill me. So anyway, he did come up to me and he started talking to me, and I acted very calm, I guess because I had to, you know. And then all of a sudden he started massaging my thighs and complaining about my cellulite, which I think is really a low blow even for a serial killer. So anyway, then he's about to strangle me. And then something made him, I don't know who, made him stop. And then he asked me, you know, what do you do? And I very calmly said, I'm a physician and a black belt karate instructor, which I was not, of course. And he got kind of like weirded out and left. So 2 years later, I see him on TV captured. He was the Killing Fields serial killer. So anyway, but I got my instincts in line.
Whoa.
That helped me make that decision. Isn't that weird? Man, I could have gotten the cliff notes on that too, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You've been through a few intense moments in your life.
I know.
Wow. That was another big one. That's not small at all. Oh my God.
I know. I thought, you know, only recently did I really feel the full impact of that. I really thought, oh, it's just a good, fun thing to tell at a party. But then to realize how close I was. It's like,
yeah. So I'll tell you, Elisa, if you want, Eric, something about that.
Yes.
So what he said is that truly was divine intervention. That was an exit point for you, when you could have gone, but your soul wasn't ready. So like the angels and the guides and stuff came in to prevent that. But that's why you were so calm. They kind of almost as if like they took over. It's like as if, you know, a channel had stepped in there and saved you because
I felt like that. Look, there's the guy. He's in prison now. But I felt the sense of dread even before I saw this face. So,
wow,
anyway.
That's an incredible story. Yeah, that's incredible. So, all right. So, how do you protect and take care of your energy when something like this? All right, like you sort of had divine intervention. So, what would Eric say, or what would you say? You can both share whatever. Who wants to go first?
I would say Eric probably is the expert in that, not me.
How do you protect your energy? How do you take care of it?
Okay, so overall, to protect your energy, again, it's not the same thing for everybody, but grounding yourself, if you work with stones and crystals, this is a good way. Meditation, letting go of stuff. You know, he says as humans, we tend to overthink things. So, you know, you play a scenario over and over and over and over and over and over and over in your head, and that's dysfunctional. It's not good for the energy of the body. So recognizing your patterns of behavior when you're doing this kind of stuff, and being aware of it and letting it go.
That's so hard.
Yes,
God,
it
it's
is. It
so
takes
hard.
effort. He said it takes conscious effort to change your thought patterns.
It does.
But he says so much of what our problems are here are in our mind. Not everything, of course, there are external circumstances, but so much of what our issues are here are in our heads.
Yeah.
And if we could just quiet that nonsense, sometimes we would feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But
Did he just leave an EVP? I heard some weird.
That was me. That was me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. No, I wish it was, but it was me.
Well, sometimes you
never
listen to
know.
these
Yeah.
recordings, guys, and you will find that he
Oh,
leaves EVPs. Like one radio show I was on, the host called me the next day and said, "Oh my God, I listened to our live deal, and there's a voice on there on the recording that we didn't hear live." And then I go to the timestamp, and there's Erik saying "minions." I mean, that loud and that
I
clearly.
remember that. I remember.
You do, and then the medium started chuckling and saying, "Oh, he's calling them minions." So,
that's hysterical.
that's funny.
So cute. That's so cute. Well, I have a couple of questions, just like an Erik questions. Like my husband, I said to him, "Well, what would you want me to ask Erik? Because he's so dicey about this whole stuff."
Oh, of
And,
course.
And I said, so he says, "Well, ask Erik. Is he getting older on the other side?"
Is Erik getting older?
Is Erik getting older on the other side? Yeah.
He's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't work like that. No.
So
It's more about soul evolution, soul evolvement than
Mhm.
actual chronological age, because he says we don't have time like you do.
Right, right. That's great. That's great. So then he wants to know, are people on the other side happy where they are?
Okay, so he says yes, happy, not always content, because then we get the itch for the growth of the soul, so that so there can be some, I don't want to say discontent, but we're not always content over there, because he says if we were content, we would just stop learning and stop growing and stop coming into lives. But happy, yes.
Well, it's interesting because my son Lucas, he's learned a lot about this too, and he says, "God, I don't know, man. The afterlife sounds boring. Everything's perfect there."
Yeah. Well, yeah. Erik's like, it's not boring. It's not boring. But it's not boring, he says. But yeah, we do sometimes look to come back in, like, okay, like I'm ready to go back in. But it's not really because we're bored. It's because we get that itch, he says, to like, okay, I need to have another experience.
Suckers. I call them all suckers. Just kidding.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of almost like, it's not an addiction, but it's almost like, like eating a piece of chocolate. You want another one, right? Let's go back there. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and Erik says, quite frankly, sometimes the human experience is fantastic.
Right, right.
So
that's a good thing to hear. See, even though we complain and carry on, he's saying how wonderful it is and how much they miss it.
Yes.
So that's good. So my husband wanted to know, what's the last thing you remembered before you exited? I know it's probably in your book, and that's a tough question, but
that's a tough question.
Okay, if it's too tough,
when you said that, I felt hopelessness. I felt heavy and hopeless.
It's probably more of a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. Okay.
Yes.
But those the first 3 chapters of that book. Oh my God.
I know it is, and I've read the
painful.
I remember.
Yes.
We got to read the book. So if you want to know those, read the book. All right. So who have you met on the other side that are from different centuries?
Cool.
This is going to be so tough for me in particular because I am terrible with names.
Well, that's okay.
Of famous people, so I apologize because the medium, I don't know if people know this, but the medium has to have a frame of reference.
Well, it could be in music, or somebody in music.
Okay. Mozart is the one I heard first. I apologize. I'm so bad with names.
Jimi Hendrix probably, I bet.
Yep.
How about somebody modern music?
Oh, I know he's and hopefully he's been teaching him how to dance. MJ, Michael Jackson.
Yep, and he's just showed me Amy Winehouse as well.
Oh,
good.
Winehouse.
I wish I apologize for that. I am terrible.
That's very typical of mediums. That and dates are very hard to.
Yeah.
It's okay. So
because there's no time over there. So
like Oh God, who was the like the sheriff in the West? The real famous.
Oh yeah, there's you know, I can't even remember
Oh,
Not Doc
Dylan,
Holliday, or no, it was one of those guys. Not Doc Holliday was his buddy. I can't think.
Yeah.
Matt
So
Dillon, or
One of them. Don't worry about that. All right.
okay.
This is going to get too hard to answer, so that's okay. So I just want to know, does Eric think we're going to find a source to clean our oceans and fresh water? Are we going to find a source to clean our water systems?
He says there's already a way to do it.
But when are we going to actually
Um,
get it? That's the question.
Yeah, there's already a way to do it. It's on a smaller scale, bits and pieces here and there. He said there's already ways to do it, but there's too much red tape holding it up. So when is it actually going to be done? He says the problem is that as fast as stuff is cleaned, stuff is also being polluted right now. So that's tough. But over the next 25 years, I'm always hesitant when they actually give me a timeline, because
there's free will involved.
Yeah, I understand, but you're giving us an idea.
Oh yeah.
I have a ton of questions. We're never going to get through them all now. How much will artificial intelligence impact our workforce, our lifestyle, our ability to find a job? Because that seems to be coming in full force into our lifestyles now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact, but he says all of that stuff creates other jobs that need to be done.
Oh, good.
So it's kind of, what he says is kind of a wash, so to speak.
Oh, good.
Well, it reminds me of disruptive technology of any sort when the automobile was invented, and people were, oh my God, all these cabbies with their horse and buggies are going to be out of work, and there won't be enough jobs. But look, people have to make the tires. They have to get the rubber for the tires. You know, that they
got to fix the stuff when it breaks down, and
right.
You know,
so you have all this peripheral.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you have any idea what new careers will come available because of the AI that's taking some of the others away? Do you know anything about what's coming up?
So what he's saying is that, a lot of the jobs are going to be like high intelligence type of jobs, but then there's also going to be like factory working type of stuff.
Somebody's got to make the robots, I guess, huh?
Yes.
So someone was saying there'll be no more middle class. Is that true?
What Erik is saying is that there's definitely going to be a stronger distinction.
Okay.
Which has already started to happen between upper, middle, and lower. But what he's saying is it's practically impossible to entirely get rid of the middle class.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, because what I'm hearing makes me feel like the opposite. So I'm glad to hear that. And it's nice to hear from the other side. So is this in our favor as a society and having AI, and what will it do for us as far as giving us more time to do what we are passionate about?
Yeah, he says it can't be stopped now. This is the direction it's going. But he says, a lot of this is fear. There's a lot of fear about what's going to happen. And he says, this is happening anyway, so embrace it.
Okay.
Learn about it, get rid of the fear from it. And yes, it's absolutely going to be helpful
good
in the long run for us.
Well, we need a part 2, Janet.
I know.
An hour has sailed by just like nothing.
So one quick thing. What's your message from both of you, Elisa and Erik, about what would you think the rest of 2019 people need to hear? What do you see for us in the rest of 2019, or even into 2020? What do we need?
I'll let Erik say. You mean as a prediction?
Any kind of message that we need to hear that we
need to live in love. We need to live in love.
Oh yeah.
Focus on your breathing. Focus on letting go of dysfunctional patterns of behavior.
I already forgot my breathing.
Yes.
Again.
He says,
I know.
He's saying, as humans, we tend to think of how do we fix the big picture, and that's overwhelming for a lot of us. He says, focus on how to fix the small picture. How do you make yourself happier? How do you make yourself function better than you are right now? He said that's all you have to do. You don't have to solve the world's problems.
Wow.
But then that will probably lead to to bigger and better things.
Yep, anyway. Mass consciousness. Yep, an awakening and awareness. Yep.
So that's an accumulative effect. Once we take care of ourselves and we make ourselves happy, then the rest of the world just moves out into the world and everyone starts feeling it. That's a beautiful, beautiful message. So I know there's a free gift. So do you want to talk about it, Elisa? do you want to, Jennifer can
Yeah,
talk?
first of all, y'all get in touch with Jennifer at psychicmediumjenniferdoran.com, Doran. And Jennifer, you want to share what you're giving away
Yeah, so
for
I
the
was
first
gonna
5 people who contact her?
give away a half-hour reading to the first 5 people that get in touch with me to book.
Wonderful. So there you go, listeners. The first 5 people who get in touch with Jennifer Doran, and we'll have all the links below. And when we finish this interview, everything will be provided for you. You can have a reading. So first come, first serve. And I want to thank you all listeners for joining in and listening to our show. Love you all to make comments and share what you got taken from this. What did you get? Any valuable aha moments? Thank you so much, Jennifer, for all you did today, channeling Erik.
Isn't she
And
awesome?
he is.
Yeah.
That was really great. And thank you, Elisa, for being the courageous way shower that you are.
Thank you. And you too. Thank you for
both.
the same.
I do appreciate and what you always do, what we think is impossible possible with your incredible love for Erik and the humanity. You help us all unlock our passions, ignite our authenticities, and finally create the lives we love. You are a gift, and you are too, Erik. Thank you too for showing up and showing us the beauty of what we all have waiting for us. I am Janet Miller, and I will see you on the next episode.